Crown Act. I know you've heard about the Crown Act and the legal. And I just read from here. Let's just talk about the Crown Act here, and I'll just let you read. We'll just read here. It is the Crown Act. So for those who don't know what it is, which stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, is a legislative initiative aimed at prohibiting race-based hair discrimination in workplaces, schools, and other public settings, introduced in California. That went too fast for me right there. The act has a significant impact on black communities by promoting cultural expression, enhancing economic opportunities, and improving educational equity. And then, since its inception, the Crown Act has been adopted in several states across the U.S., including Texas, where it took effect in September. But I just realized that it's not in effect nationwide. Texas beat everybody else. Can you believe that? It's in effect in Texas. So at the federal level, the Crown Act has been introduced several times in Congress. However, it's passed the House, but it's never passed the Senate. So it's not a law in every state yet. So this is, for those of you that don't know, I won't read the whole thing here, but we can look up the Crown Act. But it is a legislative piece about making sure that we're not discriminated because of what we're doing with our hair. And I think finally they may have accepted us now with what we're doing with all of our braids and our Bantu knots and whatever. What do you think? Do you think we're there yet? Do you think that you can go into a job with your Bantu knots and still get it? Or would you still not? You probably go in with the old professional, let me do something for these folks. What do you think?
It just all depends on your geographical area.
Yeah,
The culture.
the culture.
It's just the culture. If you go to a place where it's very diversified and the culture, you have to understand the culture. The culture. That's how you get out of that. You just have to understand the culture. Some cultures are very conservative and very on one side about how you present your hair, and then you have some cultures are extremely artistic and creative, and they welcome the Bantu knots, Zulu knots, and the two-strand twists undone and that kind of thing. But it's the culture.
Yeah.
It's in corporate America. It's in schools. It's like sometimes they don't want kids to have their hair a certain length. It's the color. All that stuff.
Like when you go on the East Coast, when I go to the East Coast, like I go every year, my two best friends live in D.C. They have a whole different thing. They get away with a lot of stuff. Down the South, we can't do some of the stuff they are. I mean, they are very in their blackness. But in Texas, Dallas, Dallas is a little bit more progressive than most southern states or southern cities or whatever. But, I know Atlanta is probably, that's a whole other world. They consider themselves not in Georgia. I don't live in Georgia. I live in Atlanta. They consider that. That's what people say in Miami too. I don't live in Florida. I live in Miami because they're different in those states. But yeah, so I think that this law is going to help, but I don't think we're totally there yet. On some, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think people need to be aware of the Crown Act and that it's definitely coming. There's people who are fighting to keep it going, and where all 50 states, have that award. But people need to understand and understand what hair discrimination is.
Right.
Because it's real. And like I said, I have had a plethora of people come in when they're getting a job, when they're going on their job interview and they need their hair straight.
Yeah.
They're not going to wear the two-strand twist or the afro look. Now, once they get on the job after 90 days, then that's a different story.
Right. Right.
But when they go in the interview, they got to have their hair straight.
Yeah.
But I tell people, understand the culture that you're walking into.
Understand the culture. That's important.
Yeah.
All right. So